ししめて面かじいっぱい男ここに咲け拳で砕けよ決意をたがえちゃ男が捨てるそうだろうさすらえとさすらえと果ての見える寂しいとししめて面かじいっぱい肌と肌ぶつけ合え聞こえるだろう男の歌がサンバから男歌
All right, what's up? It's another edition of Grandcast. Man, we've been gone for a while. It's been 3 weeks, but yeah, we're back at it now with some new news regarding Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. A lot of things that took place, especially with Anime Expo that took place a couple weekends ago, and a lot of articles coming out regarding the game. I am llRCBll, and I am joined by Zenosuke, who is back from Anime Expo. How are you doing, Zen?
I'm back from the land of anime.
Yeah, he is back from that indeed. And, of course, Blue joining us as well from South Georgia. Blue, how you doing, man?
I have the power of God and anime on my side, so
oh, damn.
Fight me.
Oh, damn.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay,
Christ.
wow. We're just going right out of the gates with that, aren't we? Sheesh.
Podcast canceled.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, I'm the pro tag. I'm here for a reason. Look at my profile picture.
You sounded like a villain right
yeah,
now.
you got the double grand going. Which, by the way, I do want to kind of let people know there was unfortunately a little bit of a technical issue that we had with trying to get the cameras up and running off the Discord. For whatever reason, they did not want to show up in our Streamlab OBS. So hopefully we'll have that remedied next week with a new program I want to be looking at and seeing about implementing that. But you got these wonderful profile pictures that's replacing them right now. You got Zen drinking what he thought was a beer but wasn't a beer.
I'm so mad.
You're still mad about that to this day.
I'm still mad. That was last year. I'm still angry.
Jeez. And then Sentenchi with his Hifumi, Blue being double grand, and then Soul with his profile pic. But Sentenchi hopefully will be joining us a little later this evening. Hopefully he'll be able to join us. Soul, unfortunately, will not be able to join us this week as he's had some personal things he had to attend to this week, but hopefully he will be back for when we do next episode of Grandcast. So again, obviously a lot of things to get into with everything that took place with all the news articles that came out regarding Grand Blue Fantasy Versus from Anime Expo. And Zen, you were at Anime Expo, so before we get into the articles and everything, kind of tell us about how Anime Expo went for you and some of the things. I know you said you had a little bit of time to pass by the Cygames booth for a little bit and everything, and just kind of talk about your experience.
Yeah, so I mean, Anime Expo in general is a pretty fun event. It's very, very crowded. It's the biggest anime convention in the United States, so I think over 100,000 attendees every year. So needless to say, we're kind of packed in like sardines on Saturday, but for the most part, it was a pretty cool event. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus was there. Cygames had a huge booth. It was really cool. They had cosplayers there. So they had the Wayne brothers, which were kind of they were kind of all over the venue, which was pretty funny. So I would just turn a corner and just see them posing or doing something silly. And I was like, all right, they're in character. That's pretty fun. They had some pretty cool, a lot of really good merchandise. They had this really cool Versus sort of backdrop that you could take pictures at. So it was pretty cool watching people take up poses and stuff, or seeing the Grand Blue cosplayers out there setting up a Versus screen. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I got a chance to play the game a little bit more, and it was the same build that we played for the online beta. So no Luane or no any other like new characters or Ladiva or anything like that. But I did get a chance to try out Charlotta, since for the online beta I only played Catalina. So I was like, let me try some new characters, and I think I found my sub.
Really? Okay, so you got to mess around with Charlotta a little bit.
No.
Yeah. I think I'm subscribing to Happy Meals.
Ah, all right. So, all right.
God dang it.
So what stood out about Charlotta? Because honestly, that was a character, like when we did our first episode, that was a character we really didn't talk a lot about because none of us really spent any time with her, and like the only one in our group that played her a little bit was 2P God, that messed around with her for a little bit. But okay, so you had a chance to mess around with her. So overall, what were your thoughts, and what kind of stuck out to you for her as far as like why you're looking at her as a sub?
So as like a Mei player, I just like characters that are kind of really annoying, and she seems to strike that like perfectly.
Yep.
Damn.
I'm sorry. Continue.
She has like a really weird jump arc, like it's really floaty in a weird way. Like her Blanca balls are super annoying, and I think they're all safe if I remember correctly.
Oh really?
You're not punishable at the very least.
Yeah, not punishable.
Okay.
So just like tossing them out there, almost like dolphins. I'm playing this character just like I do Mei, and it just feels natural.
That sounds about right. When you bring up that Mei comparison, I could definitely see that, especially with like, I know when I was playing against Max when he was playing as her and everything. Like for example, her jump A was really active. Like there was
active.
Yeah, it was a ton of frames as far as like when that thing will hit. And now that you bring that up as she being kind of like a type of like Mei character, I now understand the reason why she appealed to you.
Yeah. You bring up like her jump A or whatever. It almost reminds me of like Mei's jump S, where it stays out there forever. Just like go ahead, try and hit me, and whoop, counter hit. Her Fury slashes were really cool too. I think one of the versions is Plus.
Oh wow.
Correctly. So like I was doing it and I was getting counter hits, and I'm like I couldn't tell if the opponent was just like not hitting the fast button or whatever, but it felt Plus. So just the character has really cool options, and it was just something different from Catalina. It's just pretty fun.
Okay, interesting. So, as far as anything else, and I know you got a little bit of a story of the unblockable that you were in between when you were trying to get to the side game show and everything. But as far as like hanging out with that booth a little bit, did you talk to anybody else that was in line that was, you know, trying out the game or anything like that? Like, were you hearing anything as far as like people talking about it, and was it a positive experience, a negative experience?
So it was pretty fun because a lot of people there. Obviously, you have some of the FGC crowd there, but a lot of people there, it was their first time playing the game, and it was really casual players, like people that don't play fighting games at all. So as I was hopping in line a couple times, I would kind of talk to a few people, and everyone's just really excited for the game. Like these are just general Grand Blue fans, right? And they're really impressed by like how easy the game is to pick up. You know, the one button. We always kind of meme on like the one button specials, but that really does help a lot of people out. There was like firsthand accounts of people that just really can't do the motions, and they were really appreciative of having a one button special. So that was just really cool that it's just easy game to pick up, and they were receptive to that.
Interesting.
Obviously, I don't think we would convert them to competitive or anything like that, but it does go to show that like this game seems like it will serve that audience so long as, you know, there's enough like single player content to sustain them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, go ahead,
but
Blue.
it's really interesting because for me, you guys know for the longest time that my first fighting game that I actually tried to get competitive in is Persona 4 Arena. And the first thing I ever learned was the auto combo, which is just massing A to do a cool looking combo.
Right.
You know, I have experienced that, you know, the auto combo could be useful, but I think for people that started like late in the scene or doesn't hear about that as much, it is really eye-opening when they hear about people really getting into a game just because it is accessible. And I know we're for the FCC, we're having that debate all the time of it's something too accessible or not. What is too much of hand holding, what's not.
Right.
But stuff like that is really what brings people in. And if you can bring people in, then you have an audience.
Exactly. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a competitive audience either. So you look at a game like Mortal Kombat, who just like goes insane with like single player content, story modes, different like fight towers, just different things to keep like that audience happy, as well as, you know, work with the fighting game side and keep it competitive. You can strike that balance. It's been done before. So it's really, really cool to see side games take this approach, and I'm hoping it pays off. Like, I really hope that they go in and this is like content full of just like everything that you would appreciate about Grand Blue. You know what I mean, like really lean into the audience that you are developing this for.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something that has, you know, kind of caught on with, you know, everyone as far as, you know, reading some of the articles. I know we're going to get into a few of them as well, with some of the ones that kind of stood out as far as like all the information that came out and everything. But that was something that like the developers even said, like at some points, where like they were more curious about hearing, you know, what the newer players had to say about the game. You know what I mean? And they actually received a lot of positive feedback from the newer players in regards to the game because of its accessibility and, you know, just that feeling of, hey, I can able to get into this and do pretty well at the start. And maybe that gives some motivation to learn some of the other aspects and just continue improving and, you know, taking that road of, you know, trying to maybe perfect the fighting game. So it's really cool to see as far as that goes. And that's pretty awesome that was a lot of the feedback that you were hearing at Anime Expo at that booth from those newer players. Yeah,
it was very, very cool. Very heartwarming to see.
Really. Nice. Good to hear. So, yeah, and of course, Satenchi as well, he was also at Anime Expo, and I know he was being a bully with with his mission of what he was doing, which was getting badges.
Gotta catch them all.
Yes, that's what he was doing. So we'll hopefully, if he's able to join us a little bit later, we'll, you know, get his side as far as like what he's done, because I know, and you said so yourself too and everything, I know he spent a ton of time at the Grand Blue Fantasy Versus and Cygames booth and everything.
Right. Yeah, I know he was there a lot.
Yeah. So what? So you mentioned the store earlier too. That seems like that's been a pretty popular thing so far. Has been the Cygames store that's been kind of moving around from place to place.
Yeah, they were doing that last year as well. Like when I even went to like PAX East last year, Cygames had a booth and they were really pushing Shadowverse at the time. So this is like the first year where like they're really pushing Grand Blue Fantasy, almost as like their forefront. So at their booth this year, you know, they had lots of like keychains to buy, lots of posters. They had the body pillow covers. They pretty much had anything and everything you would want as in terms of Grand Blue Fantasy merchandise at their booth this year. And it's really wild to see from like last year where it was literally just like 6 keychains.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And now it's literally the entire booth, and there was like no Shadowverse anywhere. It just goes to show like this is their priority now, and they're really trying to push it in the West. It was cool.
Yeah, and I know that's been one thing that even in these articles that we're about ready to get into here in just a couple minutes, that seems like that's been the big thing for them. While there is a Western audience that knows about Grand Blue, obviously, and knows about Grand Blue Fantasy through the mobile and everything, this is still basically like the official introduction of this franchise to the Western audience. And
100%.
Yeah, so I mean that's why they are putting as much into it as they are. Let's go ahead and get into some of these articles real quick. We're going to start off with this article that was from Noisy Pixel in regards to what's been going on so far with Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. And, you know, it starts off with its, you know, standard, biggest takeaways from the beta and everything else that's going on, like how did it come about and everything. But there are some key points that I do kind of want to get into and everything. But, Blue, I'll start with you first. When you looked at this article, what were some of the things that kind of stood out to you as far as this article from Noisy Pixel? And I'll go ahead and pull it up here, too, so on the website of things so people can see what we're looking at here, so they can follow along. But overall, like, what were some of the things you thought about this article, Blue?
All right, so for me, the biggest point is that for the longest time for Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, we heard that it is for the newcomers, the people that haven't really played fighting game before, people that haven't even played much of a console before. So I was looking more into what single player content they were going into, and that's one of the big points. If you scroll down a little bit, is they talk about the story, and one of the big points with that for the Grand Blue Fantasy story is to make one big story that features all the characters to play in their individual roles and have a highlight. So it's going to be like if you ever play a game like Guilty Gear or Blaze Blue, is everybody has their own little thing going on, but it's still one central story. And there's not like variations upon it where maybe this guy's the main hero or this guy has this moment in a sign. It's everybody's in that same universe.
Right.
Yeah. And they brought that up too, as far as like even like some of the character selections or anything. Like some of the things that they were saying was like, you know, they're not really worried about if like the characters are all going to have swords or stuff like that, because each character is going to have its own unique play style anyway. Like Charlotte has the big sword, but she's, you know, more about her movement, things along those lines. Same thing with, you know, Lancelot. He's got the dual blade and everything, whereas Catalina has the rapier. So it still seems like even though they may have like the same look and everything, they're still going to have like a play style that's going to be dedicated to them in that regard. Zen, what about you? What stood out as far as the article here?
So what Blue mentioned was probably like the biggest standout in terms of single player content and what I was curious about. But I also found it interesting in terms of like them talking about, do they have plans for beta tests in the future? And you know, that was something we talked about before. Where
Yep.
Could see them doing another one before the release, and I still think maybe it won't be like an online beta, but probably like a pre-order like demo in the same way that Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue and stuff were. But for what they're saying here, they say, you know, they don't have any plans for any more online beta tests at this time. But they are looking at bringing it to various other events to allow players to play. So that really shows that they're going in hard. So they're probably going to be in like every single like major, probably every single like FGC major, I'm sure, probably every big anime convention between now and release. It's just really cool that they're trying to put it out there and get into more like the casual players' hands,
right?
Not just necessarily like just the FGC hands, you know.
Yeah, and that was actually the other thing I was going to bring up too, is the fact that we have brought up the fact that, you know, we were expecting some type of beta or demo in the future and everything, but you know, they kind of said as of now no online beta tests, but you know, like you said, the fact that they're going to be appearing at all these different events, I think. I'm trying to remember some of the events that said they were going to be at. I think they said they're going to be at one that's there's an event in Atlanta that they're going to be at. Is that right?
Anime in Atlanta is going to be a spot, as well as Otakon, and then Anime
in Atlanta one? Was that AWA you said, or?
AWA, yes.
Okay. I think I'm going to that this year.
Oh, really? Okay.
I probably will as well, because that is not during CEO Otaku weekend, so I'm happy.
Gotcha.
Fair.
Did they say it was going to be at EVO or not?
It should be. I don't think
they have not confirmed it to be at EVO, but since Cygames is a major sponsor, I would be very surprised if it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why kind of the reason why I was bringing that up is because, yeah, I mean, that's when we're expecting to hear a bunch of different things about that. So I would hope that it would be over at EVO, and I know Zin, you actually are going to be at EVO this year, so. You might have to do some exploring for us.
Oh, I will. I will definitely take this opportunity. It'll be my first time going to EVO, and I will check out anything you guys want me to check out. I am your eyes on the EVO floor. Nice.
That's good to hear. So there was a couple other things I was asked to, you know, if there was any plans to release Versus on any other platforms. They said that it's not official at this time, but they are considering releasing the game on other platforms and PC. So we talked about this earlier before we started the show. Most likely, maybe a Switch port and a PC port is what they would look at.
you gotta assume they're gonna do a Switch port. That just seems like a no-brainer, considering how they even fit Dragon Ball Z Fighters and stuff on the Switch. Like, it's-
Guys, you saying Switch port. Now all the Switch members are gonna come out. Confirmed! Switch! Granblue Fantasy versus coming on Switch! Get it!
It is not confirmed on Switch. It is don't know.
Yeah,
Just buy it on PS4 when it releases.
Grand
Right.
Cast has not confirmed the release of Granblue Fantasy versus on the Switch. We are not responsible, and we're not citing.
Exactly.
What a disclaimer. Awesome job, Blue.
That's it.
So Blue coming through
We gotta
to
cover our meat.
yes, he's covering everything as far as that goes. So the other thing that was brought up, I think Blue, you were talking about this and everything, just kind of revisiting a little bit, but as far as the post-launch content and everything, obviously, like you were saying earlier, we can expect maybe, obviously there's going to be some post-launch characters, some season passes going to be along those lines and everything. And it was also brought up as far as like costumes and everything, stuff like that. Just with this art style, and Arc Systems said this before about like this particular art style that he used to do like completely different costume designs and everything like that. There's a ton of resources that go into that. So, and they rather just go ahead and just put those resources to just making a new character instead of having to like do like a whole new costume.
Correct. And if there were going to, and they also mentioned this in the article, is that if they are going to make another costume for a character, they might as well make it a alternate version of the character where it would have a very different type of moveset of the original. So it'd be like, if you're going to have like one of the most popular variations of Grand is either like Dark Wilder, or one of the costumes he can wear is like a dark version of Grand. So if they're gonna, either one of those is gonna be in the game, you gotta believe that they have some idea for him that is unlike Happy Boy Grand down here.
Yeah. So obviously, there's some interesting stuff with that. Zen, did you have something else or?
I was gonna say, like, in terms of like creating different versions of the same character, that really goes in line with the mobile game as well. So like when you think about swimsuit versions of like characters and stuff like that, or just like special event versions, those generally will be like a completely different element with a completely different tool set, different outfits and everything like that too. So it's like it would pretty much have the same feel as the mobile game of being a completely different character while still being the same. That's very side games of them.
Gotcha. All right, yeah. So that's some of the things that came out of the Noisy Pixel article that was done here in regards to that. So now we're going to go ahead and flip over to a different article that was done by confreaksandgeeks.com here. And really, it was a lot of standard stuff as far as this article is concerned. Basically talking about, why did they decide to have Arc Systems be the company to develop the game? Really, honestly, as far as like this type of design and this type of, these type of games, I guess, there's no one else that could do the things that Arc Systems has been doing. So it just seems like that they are the go-to now as far as like if this is the style of game you want to develop and everything, they're the go-to as far as this goes. So other than that, they also asked as well if there was a specific art game that inspired them to create this fighting game. Obviously they referred to Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue. So like I said, a lot of basic stuff. As far as this article goes, talking about, plans for DLC. Yes, there is consideration for a season pass as well, which is, that's kind of the standard quota now as far as the, way games are developed. But still, it's still. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think there's one really cool takeaway from this article, because everything else is pretty generic. But if you get down to the end, it's like any messages to the American Granblue Fantasy fans.
Yep, I'm showing where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and Kimura pretty much responds by like, Granblue Fantasy Versus will be localized and published in North America, but so will the second season anime broadcast. But even more importantly, they have a ton of Granblue English releases coming here officially, and they want everybody to enjoy it. So it's like they're planning to push this really hard over the next year, and I'm wondering if we're going to see like an. I don't know if we'll see like an official Grand Blue US client, but they're definitely considering the US for like every future Grand Blue release, which is really exciting.
That is kind of interesting when you look at that, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because we were going to get to that at that point. But that leads to a lot of other potential possibilities when you look at this. So,
and just going back to how again I was mentioning the story. In this article, they go a little bit more in depth with the story in specific, and Fukuhara says, and I quote, "Since it's sharing the same lore and same characters, the story starts from some point in the main story of Grand Blue Fantasy. Zero knowledge is required to actually enjoy the story. It's going to be more like an F story that happens at some point in the main storyline of Grand Blue Fantasy. And if you are a Grand Blue player that just in your head that either thinks of two things, events or side stories. So you can see this game being one massive event.
That's interesting.
A good way to look at it.
Yeah, because there is with the mobile game especially and everything, you do get a ton of different types of events and everything. So yeah, and they also, and we'll get to the GameSpot article here in a little bit too, but they mentioned in there that there's going to be some things that's going to be in there that is going to be representative to Grand Blue and how it is, especially with the mobile game. And Zen, you kind of joked a little bit too, saying that we're going to have a gacha system to unlock characters.
I feel like we're going to get a gacha system at some point.
There's no doubt in my mind. I think if there's not a gacha game or a gacha system in the game, everybody would be disappointed.
I know, right? We gotta roll. We gotta.
So maybe like roll, like the roll for colors or something like that, or
it might.
Yeah,
just
like
be,
roll
like,
for colors,
Gears,
roll for like a room. Like you can you can customize your grand cipher, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Like, and then when you create your own lobbies and create your own rooms, stuff like that, it'll have its own look, kind of like how Blaze Blue's Central Fiction, their lobbies worked and everything.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like when I was looking at more detail article, for me personally, I was looking less about like the gameplay stuff and the esports stuff, because most of it had been stuff that we already seen or something that's been verified many times.
Right.
What I was looking mostly in these articles was story aspects, and the fact that they have more ways and one to talk about the story said that they are going to take their time with the story and actually try to not only to make it right, but make it something that not only that Grand Blue fans will enjoy, but people that does not understand the thing about the stories, which is the U.S. market, can pick up and be like, "Oh, this guy is cool. I understand this guy's motivation." Stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This to be the production of Grand Blue, so that's.
And that's also why. Sorry again, going on tangent again. Is why Gran is represented by his anime adaptation, not his game, because for Gran in the games, you play as a silent protagonist, can be whoever you want. But in the anime, he does have a distinctive personality. He is someone that is courageous, maybe stupid sometimes, but he will try to do anything that's the right thing, right?
I like how you said, he's stupid sometimes.
I mean, he's the main character. That's his job.
To be stupid at times?
I mean, have you seen the characters I play?
Yeah. There's a distinct character quality in all the characters that Blue plays. Absolutely. So, all right. So yeah.
The big thing. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go right ahead.
Big thing is that they want to have a way to connect with the characters, because if you can connect to a character, I think you have more likelihood, if you play them, to stick around with them, because once you have that connection with a character, you will go to great lengths to make sure that you're having the satisfaction of your favorite guy actually winning.
Yeah.
Yep, that is true.
That is very true, and it's a perfect segue actually, because speaking of characters, we did get some information now on Lil Wayne. and how he is going to operate and how he is going to work, because Side Games also did have a panel where they literally covered everything as far as what is going on with Grand Blue. And Zen, I guess before we do get to Luane, I know you were trying to get to this, but
yeah,
you kind of got caught into a sandwich situation as far as this goes.
Yeah. it was like 1.0 Ruby Gorge.
Oh,
like,
no. That is the worst of worst things.
Yeah, so it was a big blow up, man. So Anime Expo had this panel. It was held on Saturday, if I remember correctly. It was like Saturday at like 5:30 p.m. Or I'm sorry, 6 p.m. But the lineup for the panel was at 5:30 p.m. And considering how big Grand Blue Fantasy is and like the fan base that was there, they gave them like the smallest room.
Oh
Out
no!
of, like all of the conference rooms. So like literally, it was a scenario where okay, you line up at 5:30, right? I got to the lineup point at like 5:31, and literally that line was immediately capped, as well as like the reserve line went all the way from like one side of the convention center to the other.
Oh jeez.
And I wish I had a good comparison to it, but it's like it's a far walk.
Well, and you
is
also
it like Disney World levels are bad.
Is it like what?
Disney World levels are bad.
Worse.
Oh,
Yeah, it's around there.
and the other thing
in-
that you hadn't had a chance to mention yet, there was also another show or another panel that was equally as big. That was going on at this time as well.
Oh yeah. So at the same time, well, roughly the same time, they had the Fate Grand Order event held in a different hall, but of course they had the biggest hall of the convention center, so they were fine.
no.
But you know, Grand Blue Fantasy, we get this tiny room that only fit, I think, 250 people.
Sheesh.
So literally, it was a case where if you had a Premier badge, only people with Premier badges got into that panel. And then, even then, if you had a Premier badge, you wasn't even guaranteed to get in because the room was so small and it capped immediately.
Wow.
Oh.
Oof. Yeah,
it was a blow-up, man.
that is definitely a blow up.
Faith wins. It's first on Twitter for a reason.
I mean, yeah, it's true. But I mean, it would have been cool
But
to
yeah,
go.
that's gotta be like tough for like a lot of people that wanted to be in there with the producer and the director of the entire series.
Right.
And,
It was a lot of
and
disappointment.
and just imagine like the amount of like gratefulness that those two would have had if it was every single person that was in that line.
Now,
Yeah, there was enough people to fill up one of the bigger halls, like free.
oof.
It's pretty crazy.
Now, also, I would think as well, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but this is just kind of like me just thinking out loud a bit. Is there enough of a crossover though between the people that would be, Fate fans? They would also be Grand Blue fans as well.
This is a big crossover.
So it's safe to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. Oof. That's rough,
I
unfortunately.
mean, I think they put them at the same time because obviously you want to split up those two crowds just for the sheer number of people that would be interested in both. You want to split that up. Like you don't want like 5,000 people going to one panel and then those same 5,000 going to another. Like you want to break that up as best you can.
Ouch.
But it would have been smarter to at least give Grand Blue an equally sized room.
Right.
So this way you could have at least accommodated the most people,
Now, would that also be maybe? Well, I mean, that would be a hard question to ask. I mean, because I thought maybe it would be along the lines of like, well, maybe the coordinators of the convention, they know how big Fate is as far as that goes, but maybe they're just unaware of maybe the size of the Grand Blue fan base that would go to the event as well. Like, I'm just kind of curious as to why that would have been the case.
I'm not really sure. Honestly, a lot of times when it comes to Anime Expo and their panels, they can be like a coin flip, man.
Oh, really?
Like sometimes they're super on point, and other times they're really out of touch. I have no idea.
Oof. Well, that's unfortunate. So, but luckily, we did obviously have some sources there that were at the Side Games panel and tweeting out some of the information that was coming out with that, and going to the Grand Blue English account here, they did have some information on Lil Wayne. Now, we've yet to play, actually, Lil Wayne, because we only had the demo and everything of the beta. And apparently, and also, it was the same build of the game that was the demo over at Anime Expo as well. So Lil Wayne and La Diva were not playable in this build as well. But we did get some information on Lil Wayne mainly for the most part. It was more in depth with him than it was with La Diva. But, you know, basically just kind of summarizing here, Lil Wayne has a lot of tricky moves that mesmerize the opponent. Summon Elsam, Tomoe, a Catalina tank, and make it hard to block his attacks. And that he can also summon random foods to heal himself, boost his meter, all sorts of stuff. And his lines and animations for doing everything from running and blocking to attacking are meant to make you laugh. So obviously, yeah, he's the comic relief of the game. He's also, you know, the comic relief in the Grand Blue universe as well, with his events and how things are with the Lil Wayne brothers. So basically, anyone who's played other different fighting games, he's basically Faust. If you're a Guilty Gear player, you know how Faust is. He throws out a bunch of random items that have different status effects on how it works and everything. And that just sounds like exactly what Lil Wayne's going to be, is basically the Faust as far as how he operates.
Yep, sounds about right.
Curious though if he's
I'm really curious.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm more curious. Like he has all the items and stuff, but I'm really curious to see how the Skybound arts work in terms of his summons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious to see like what are all the attack options you have during that, and like as far as the person on defense, what can you do about that stuff?
Yeah, because we
Really?
did. Yeah, because we did get like information like on what his Skybound arts are going to be, where like his regular art was going to be. Basically, he summons the brothers, and they're in that stance and everything, and then he has the you know, bigger summon as well for his Super Skybound. So yeah, I'm curious about that as well, and I'm curious about his normals and how they're going to work in the game as well. If he's going to have some pretty far-reaching normals, because he's also a taller character in the game as well. So I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. Blue, from this, what kind of stood out for you as far as like the information about Lil Wayne?
For Lil Wayne, the biggest thing is that, the biggest thing for me was that it said that he could summon random food to heal himself and all of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much of that is actually random.
Oh,
because I feel like there is, you can do like the different attacks. You could choose which one you want,
mm-hmm.
or if you want a complete randomness, like, or like ES to get automatically what you want, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and also, is
Or
it maybe like a set
maybe
pattern?
If it's on rotation or what. I wonder.
The other big thing I would want to talk about Lil Wayne, and I put this in the Discord, is remember that backdrop that we talked about before the show?
Mm-hmm.
It actually has Lil Wayne's 4 special moves.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
So-
yeah. Let's see if we pull that up here real quick. Let me see
So
here.
Given the
Alright.
trailer, you can also probably guess what each move is.
Probably if we go over the trailer and kind of like analyze it, you can probably see which one it is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the picture won't blow up big enough for me to be able to blow it up for the stream, so they could kind of see it and everything. But yeah, this was the backdrop that Blue was mentioning, where people were taking photos basically. So it's its backdrop, and then yeah, you see Lil Wayne there, and you kind of get a little glimpse of it. But unfortunately, you'd have to like really superimpose it to kind of see what those are as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good catch as far as that goes. Now, they also mentioned that they had to cut off La Diva's description because they were in a time constraint, because of like how much information they had. So really, the only thing that was really said was that La Diva is in fact the grappler archetype of the character, but it's not slow. And she's also not helpless if you are not in throw range. So she'll have some long range attacks to help kind of compensate for the, you know, fact that if she's like not able to get in or something like that. So we obviously will get more information on her as, you know, the game does draw closer and we get closer to some of these other events that's taking place, which does get us to now the GameSpot article here. And it was very interesting as far as like a lot of the information that you saw with it. And it's pretty much, again, just the standard that we've seen with everything else as far as everything that we kind of talked about how this game is going to be as far as like the Western audience and everything like that. But they did say at the end of the article here, and yeah, if there's anything else that stood out for you guys, you know, by all means, we'll mention after this. But Fukuhara, as a final remark, teased that also there's something very, very important that gives that Grand Blue Fantasy feel to Versus, but the details will be announced in the future. Now that's his quote. GameSpot goes and says those details, along with the release date for Versus, are expected to be revealed on August 3rd during the Grand Blue Fest. That's also, if I remember correctly, too, that's also the same time during EVO as well, right?
Correct. So, for people that doesn't know much about Grand Blue Fantasy, Grand Fest is usually their mid-year celebration stream, where usually they talk about the game, how it's progressing. They have some of the VAs come to talk about the game and their experiences, and they do some fun stuff like duo trivia, they fight a certain raid as a group, and stuff like that. But they also use that time for announcements and stuff. And the last Grand Fest was back in January, and that's when we learned about Lorraine. Mm-hmm. So this is pretty much going into the fact that most people were expecting to see a new character or some more details during this festival.
Mm.
But the question is, how much? So,
yeah, that's kind of one thing I'm kind of curious about with that. And I remember too, and I shared it a while back. Unfortunately, it was pretty far back when I shared this, so I can't go that far back in my history, unfortunately. But there was like a tweet that showed like the upcoming trailer that's being worked on and everything. And good news, it's not a 15 or 20 second trailer like we discussed a few weeks back. But it looks like it's only
seconds.
Yeah, it's only exactly. No, but on the time he said 25 seconds. but no, it looks like this one in particular though is going to have a lot more information, and the timestamp on this particular video project that was being worked on was like 3 minutes. So we could be getting something very substantial as far as that goes. So yeah, if you're wanting to follow up on, you know, that information, mark your calendars for August 3rd.
Check the Discord.
Check the Discord. All right, one sec. Blue's got some stuff. Yep, that's it. Yeah, this is exactly the one I was talking about.
Yep.
This is it right here. This is exactly the one I was talking about. Editing the next trailer, and yeah, if you see it there, I don't have the way to superimpose it there, but you see. It's a pretty lengthy trailer. It looks like this time around. It's about 3 minutes, the way it looks.
Like,
and
right from where it is on the timestamp is 2 minutes and 32 seconds, and you see it has a little bit more after it. So
yeah, so it seems like there's some stuff there. So that's supposedly like a glimpse of the latest trailer. I also appreciate the fact that the person that did this, that editing the next trailer, literally blanked out everything here that was in his source bin here at the bottom left of the thing. So like all that's blurred out, so you can't really see what it is that he's working on. This is a smart guy.
Right.
This is a very smart person that was doing that to blur all that out.
Very deliberate.
Yes. So obviously, yeah, there's going to be some very significant news that's going to be coming out within the next couple weeks. So keep your eyes out.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see as far as what's going to be taking place with that. But yeah, and Blue, thank you. Yeah, that was actually the tweet I was referencing when it comes to that trailer that's going to be hopefully coming out soon. well,
I can
obviously,
find that thing pretty
no,
soon.
yeah, no later than August 3rd, obviously. So, all right. So basically, again, these were a lot of the news that kind of came out with, what took place at Anime Expo. Basically, and Zen, I'll give you credit, and I'll also give Satichi credit. It was really just a lot of like rehashing some of the things that we knew already, but there were a couple tidbits of new information out there here and there. But really, all in all, just a lot of stuff that we kind of already known per se, just kind of revisiting the things that have been discussed as far as what's coming up with the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what we already knew. It's them doubling down on the fact that they want this to be an esports title. Just their future plans in terms of Grand Blue Fantasy in general, how much they want to, expand to the West. It's stuff we knew, but it's still good to hear like them double down and confirm that stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially like, in hearing like the fact that, they've had some good feedback, especially with like the newer players and everything. Yeah. In discussing like how they're feeling about it. Just kind of, recapping some of the things that, we were discussing and everything, especially with the Anime Expo. I am actually kind of glad that you did have a chance to try out Charlotta a little bit because, like I said, that was a character when we were doing the initial discussions of, like, the characters we played and everything, that was one that we just did not really explore that much. So the fact that you were able to explore Charlotta and everything, we basically were able to hit on the five main characters that's been introduced and showcased as of now, as far as Charlotta goes. Trying to think if there's was there anything else that kind of stood out from Anime Expo when you were there, Zen?
As far as Grand Blues related, not really. That's kind of about sums it up, really.
Okay.
Not too much more to add there.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, and like I said, I know Satichi spent a lot of time there as well, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like he'll be able to make it with us tonight, as we're probably going to be wrapping up this edition of Grand Blue, the Grand Cast here in a couple more minutes, as far as what is going to be taking place with it. Now, with that said, let's do a little bit of a prediction because, like I said, we're thinking we're obviously going to have this other trailer that's going to be dropping or the big news dump for Grand Blue Fantasy versus on August 3rd at the Grand Fest, everything. What are some of the things that you guys are expecting to, what are some things you guys would like to see as far as this upcoming trailer, as far as like maybe any potential new characters, release date, kind of give a prediction on like what you may think as far as like when they'll announce the release date, because it's still looking as though it's very much still going to be 2019. As far as when they're going to be having this release date. So what would you guys like to see coming out of the upcoming Grand Fest as far as any news or info you guys like to see with Grand Fest? And I'll start with Blue.
For the trailer, I'm thinking for the most part it's going to be a story trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a trailer mostly of what the story is about. That's when we're going to learn more about the characters that's in the game. We're going to see more character pop up, make maybe a brief appearance. I'm not expecting like a full-blown character trailer. It's just going to be something that'd be like, hey, they're in, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the release date will be something corresponding to like stay tuned for Evo or something like that, to be completely honest.
Oh, so you think they're going to try to tie that in from being... They'll have this trailer and this info and everything, and then tie it in with Evo potentially. I kind of like that idea, as far as
because you can keep going.
Oh, I was letting you go.
Oh, Chris, I'm interrupting everybody today.
Nah, you're good. It's all good.
My big thing is for Evo. For anybody that doesn't know, Evo Sunday going to be 4 different games: Blade Blue, Quartet Battle, Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, and Smash Ultimate. I feel like there is a reason why it's 4 games, not just because they wanted to end early, but maybe they have more to show this year than any other year. And I want to see, and I want to believe that's true.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I believe that. I think you're onto something with that as far as, all the info that they're going to have. And there's going to be, that Evo's kind of become that now, right? I mean, with it being the, Super Bowl of fighting games and fighting game tournaments and everything, if that's when you want to make your announcement to everyone that's going to be watching, that's the time to do it. So I think you're definitely onto something for that. And now that you bring that up, and we just brought up that photo that showed like the time length of the video project for the next trailer that's going to be released soon and everything. Now that you mention that, I think you're dead on, Blue. I think you're right that's probably going to be a trailer that is going to be hinting more on the story mode of the game and everything. I think you're onto something with that. Zen, what about you?
I echo some of the same thoughts. I do think this is going to be primarily a story trailer. I think it'll probably also outline some more of the single player features, so we'll probably get an idea of like what they mean in terms of we want this game to feel very much like the mobile game in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they mean by that, we'll probably get an example of that in here, be it like avatars or whatnot. We'll probably see a flash of a couple characters. I do expect that we'll probably see a little bit more of Ladiva. We'll probably get like a pretty solid showing of her since they couldn't go into her at like AX or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that we see like Zooey or like some other character. But yeah, that's basically it. I think it's just primarily a story trailer.
Gotcha.
And we'll probably get a release date as well.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking it's probably going to be like December, but we'll see what happens.
You're still pegging it as being a December release?
Yeah. I'm sticking with that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards. I'm starting to lean towards November a little bit now, and I don't know why I am. It's just kind of like a gut. It's just kind of like a gut feeling, I guess, as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since a lot of those big like titles are released during that time. So I'm kind of leaning towards that. I didn't even really think about anything with the story, mode aspect until Blue brought that up with the trailer. So I'm curious to see how that's going to be. Obviously, the different modes will be good too. In the characters, really, it's wide open. We thought we had an idea as far as like which characters we'll see, but and I think there's still some that are the shoe-ins, like Percival and Vera, somehow making the roster then and there. So there's something to that as far as that goes and everything. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how that goes. T-Nerg in the chat and everything. Did you guys mention how they said there probably won't be another beta? We did actually. Yeah, we mentioned that in the at the beginning of the no, not really at the beginning, but like kind of in the middle of it when we were going over some of the different articles that they did mention that there won't be, as of now, they haven't planned for another online beta, but they are taking the game all across and everything. So, and that's a good point too. That aspect as well might factor into a potential release date if they're not planning on having another beta. Maybe it's, further into the development life as far as that goes, so very curious to see. Well, it's go ahead.
That's a good point because the game looks very polished from the way we played the online beta. So
right, yeah, it was very polished. T-Nerd, don't worry about it, man. Yeah, if you got here late, don't worry. The vidcast does get archived and everything, so you could just go back and rewatch it, and it'll be a little bit of a shorter version of the Grandcast tonight, so you'll be able to kind of catch up on things, and we'll basically rehash like all the articles in there as far as that goes. So yeah, just watch the archive once we do end this, so you'll be good in that front. So, but yeah, so there's a lot of things to kind of anticipate as far as the Grand Fest that's around the corner with this. Evo right around the corner as well, and like we mentioned earlier, Zen, you're going to be out there at Evo, so I'm sure you're going to be looking to spend some time out there.
Yep, can't wait. Catch me while I'm sober.
Yeah,
and I will do whatever you guys want me to do. It's going to be a small window, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to be saying, like, wait, you sober? How much time do I have?
Hey, Zen likes to have a good time. It's not.
It's fine.
It's all fine. It's all good. So, all right. Well, I think
that was the only person not drinking during New Year's. Don't tell me it's fine.
We don't talk about New Year's.
Oh no, that's a
First rule of JSB New Year's: we don't talk about JSB New Year's.
no, and that's a different type of vidcast we would have to do. Like seriously, I would have to put like all the disclaimers on saying that like this is.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I Oh, Blue, that brought up some stuff.
Oh boy.
Bro, some PTSD to y'all. All right, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
so,
that's it.
all right, guys. Before we do wrap it up, any final words you guys want to say before we end the vidcast for tonight?
Blue, you want to go?
You go first.
Okay, is this the part where I pimp all my stuff?
Yes, it is. Yes, especially with
Cool.
you guys are gonna have a lot of stuff coming up this week on your
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So, for those that don't know, I run 2 podcasts. We have the JSB Games Cast, which airs every Friday, where we talk about video games and stuff. It's a pretty cool show. Last week we had a really fun show about like Pokemon and stuff like that. This week is going to be pretty cool as well. You can find that on like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. We also have the JSB Tech Cast, where we talk about technology, cell phones, laptops, all that jazz. The thing with that show, that's actually going to have a format change. So instead of being weekly, we're actually going to start doing monthly for that show. That allows us to collect more sort of news articles, because it's been kind of slow for the past couple of weeks, and it's really hard to keep up with like tech when there's no news happening on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So that kind of allows us to sort of just collect our thoughts on what's out there and give more breathing room for articles for us to like sit on and stuff, and come back at you with like a really strong podcast at the end of the month. So we might have another episode next week, but for the most part, once we hit July 31st, after that point, it'll come out every month after that at the end of the month.
Absolutely, and also share the Twitter here for you guys.
Yes.
If you want to follow the JSB podcast, just follow it at Jack Savage Base. That's the Twitter account, and that's where all the podcasts get posted, as well as like previews of upcoming shows or like recaps of some shows. So if you want to follow it out, by all means, please do that. Just follow at Jack Savage Base for all of that podcast action. Blue, how about you, man?
Also Facebook.
Yeah, that's right, Facebook as well.
Yep. Now, go ahead, Blue.
All right.
All right. So I have a few projects going on right now. So first primary one is the AFCC news. Twitter, that is mostly part of various fighting game news, such as Blade Blue, Guilty Gear, and of course Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I'm right now working on some situations for the llRCBll World Tour, since EVO will be the last event of that entire season. So if you want to keep up with that, that will be at AFCC News. I'm also doing something with this company named One Frame Link. One Frame Link is a group that shares fighting game stats, and I'm working with them for the llRCBll World Tour as well. You can follow them at llRCBll, at One Frame Link. Sorry. Yeah. And then finally, you can follow me at Blue561 for daily nonsense. And as of right now, just a bunch of kill combos that I really love doing.
Yes. That is.
So I've noticed.
Yes, I am all about it, especially since I'm going to be playing Ryoko, and that I'm definitely been dissecting those videos for sure. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate
I got some more video for you, and like give me an hour after the podcast. I got some more tech.
Ooh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
There's all the new.
You're gonna be using the dash cancel, so nothing's completely new, but it's cool.
I'm all about it. I am all about it. So, all right, guys. Well,
I get the last. And then the last thing I gotta say is, remember, Blue always play fighting game for the plot.
Jesus Christ.
Wow. Well, I guess that's where we're going to end on that one. So, appreciate you guys. We do appreciate you guys coming through and watching the Grandcast. Hopefully, we should be doing another one next week. If not next week, we will definitely do one after the Grand Fest that does take place. So expect one anytime around then when we do have some more news that's going to be potentially coming up. But we do appreciate you guys coming through. Appreciate you guys watching. For Zenosuke, for Blue, and for Sutenchi and Soul, who were not able to attend tonight. But hopefully we'll be back by the next episode. I'm RCB, and we will see you all next time. Till then, take care.
Bye.
Goodbye.